Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. As we know, self-critique is essential for growth and progress as an artist. And this week I challenged myself to push my drawing skills and shade heads using only 2 values. It was a tough exercise, but one that helped me to understand the underlying anatomy of the head and also to make better design choices. Have you ever tried this exercise? If you have, share your experiences and results with me in the comments. But for now, join me as I share my own journey and progress on this channel, and let's inspire each other to keep pushing ourselves to improve. So with all that said, let's take a look at how I did this week. On day 1, I was excited to start fresh with the new week and new references. So I tried to approach this challenge with an open mind to see how much I could learn and how doing this might be beneficial to my learning journey overall. And as I began, I found it was really important to take my time to study the reference first before even laying down the first pencil stroke. Try to identify the main shapes and decide how I want to use them. I found it was easy to forget what I'm drawing and lose sight of the subject, and that made some shapes start to become a bit too loose and undefined, also slightly out of position, which would then throw the whole thing off. Not so much with this page, but later on in the drawings you will see that. I had to constantly remind myself that these parts are more than just shapes, that they are the parts of the head and the face, and to try and have a deeper understanding of why that shape exists in the first place. But as I was working these things out, it felt like I was really making some new connections and understand more about drawing heads, which is a fantastic feeling. I also tried to keep my pencil work consistent as best I can with my current skills, and I'm actually pleased with the results overall. I think day 1 was a success, and I remember being excited about what I thought I had learned that day and to see improvements over the coming days. As we know, progress isn't always linear when learning to draw, and if you have followed my journey so far, you might have noticed that for every step forward, I can take many steps back for whatever different reasons. And day 2 was definitely no exception. Things didn't go as smoothly as the previous day, and to be honest, I'm not sure what went wrong. Perhaps I didn't study my reference enough, but one thing I do know is that I underestimated the difficulty of this exercise. Probably because day 1 went so well, I may have been a little bit overconfident. Either way, for whatever reason, we now have this, and they both kind of suck. I think the top one is a lot worse than the bottom one, but I do remember at the time at first I thought things were going okay until I took a step back, and then slowly coming to the realization that it's pretty bad. But even so, when I started the second head, I actually thought things were looking up again. I don't know, I must have been trying to be very optimistic that day. I felt like I was more closely replicating how I did the drawings on the first day, but again, when I took a step back about halfway through, I could tell that it just wasn't. So I didn't get the shapes right, and my decisions on what to include and exclude fell pretty flat. Disappointing, but it's part of the learning process, and these step backs are not unusual for me, so I'm getting better at accepting them and trying to learn from them and then moving on. Day 3 was awesome again. I really liked the results, and I did enjoy studying and drawing the references that I chose. I really enjoyed the process of trying to make key design choices with the shapes around the eyes and deciding how much to include or leave out, because remember that I'm only using 2 values, so it's either included or it's not. But I'm really happy with how the top head turned out, and it gave me a boost of confidence after the disasters of the previous day. As for the bottom head, it was a little bit more complex and difficult. There were a lot of choices to be made as to what was in shadow and what was in light. I was concerned at one point because the eyes were especially tricky, and at first I thought I might have made them a little bit too panda-like, but I think it works as a whole. I also had to make other adjustments as I went, and that's okay because sometimes it takes a while to actually see the shape and not just draw what you think you see. Oh, and if anyone recognises the reference for the bottom head, let me know in the comments. Day 4 was a trip into the outskirts of Disaster Town again. Not sure if it was the references, but these heads are just boring. The top head has too much detail, and I wish I had made better choices in the shape design or just chose another reference altogether. I did try, and I have to remember that that's the main thing. And also, I'm sure a lot of professional artists have their own set of disaster drawings hidden in a drawer somewhere, and I guess this is just one of mine. I honestly thought the bottom one was going to save the day, but it didn't, and I'm not sure why. I thought having a hat and with the shadow shapes it would bring would make it more interesting, but somehow I'd still managed to suck the life out of it. Well, both of them really, but I don't know, maybe it's just one of those days. What do you think? If you have any suggestions on why these heads in particular are so boring and suggestions for improvement, I would love to hear your feedback. Okay, day 5, and now we have gone from the outskirts right into the centre of disaster town. I mean, what was I thinking? I don't know. I might have thought I had more skill than I actually did, and it shows. But it's a humbling reminder and a good reality check, reminding me I'm not going to learn all of this in 1 week, and I shouldn't expect to either. I have drawn on and off over the years, but have tried to be more consistent for the past 3 years now, and I still feel like a beginner. Some people might be able to draw for multiple hours every day and can make really rapid progress, but I can't, and I imagine that it's not realistic for everyone else either. Usually I draw for 1 hour a day on weekdays, and while I have been trying to be more consistent with my practice, I'll be honest and say there's times when I don't draw for a week or two, or sometimes even 3. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm learning at my own pace, and it might take me longer than most people, or maybe not. Maybe this is normal. I don't know. But I sat down on day 5 thinking I was going to draw something as great as the good days that I did this week, and that just didn't happen. And it could have possibly come down to my shape design choices. But hey, we aren't going to learn to be perfect in 5 days. So it is what it is. It's practice, and practice that happened to turn out crappy. That's all. It certainly doesn't mean that this week was wasted either. So if you're feeling like you're not learning anything, or you're taking lots of steps back, don't worry, you're not the only one. All right, everyone, I think that's a wrap on this week's self-critique video. It's been a roller coaster of a week with some highs and some lows, but all that's part of the learning process. And I think the most important thing I learned this week is that it's not just about the final drawing. It's about the journey and the progress you make along the way. I also realised the importance of choosing the right reference, even though I can't make that take all the blame for my bad choices, and taking the time to study it before diving into the actual drawing. And let's not forget the power of self-critique. It can be tough to look at your own work and see mistakes, but it is crucial for growth and improvement. I hope this video has been helpful for you in some way, whether it is in learning from my mistakes or just seeing someone else's journey. Remember that we all start somewhere, and it's about taking small steps to get better day by day and week by week. And I hope you've enjoyed following my journey so far, and if you've been inspired to try this exercise yourself, I would love to see your results. You can tag me in your drawings on Instagram if you like, and we can continue to learn and grow together. I'll see you next week, next Monday, with the week 12's self-critique, which is the last official week of this goal that I had to draw for a minimum of 3 months. So that will be week 12. So we'll see what happens next week. As always, remember to keep drawing, keep learning, and keep getting better.